Hi, I'm Dylan Sprouse, and here's how I went from brewing mead in dirty buckets in my garage at 16 years old to being the world's youngest master brewer. I started brewing when I was 16 years old, and really it was because I wanted to try drinking alcohol with my friends, like most little rascals do. So I learned that you could buy the ingredients legally and just make it instead. So as an enterprising young man, I decided to do that, and I started experimenting with my friends. They all hated it, but we had a great time. My dad found it, and he supported me, actually, uncharacteristically. He was like, hey, I found this, I don't know what it is, it smells like alcohol, it looks disgusting. You can continue doing it so long as I get to drink it and so long as you get to respect the craft that you're doing. And so I continued to respect it, and now I'm here. Anything brewed primarily with honey is called a mead. I was a very frantic young man, and I had a lot of energy. And I was diagnosed with ADHD. So this was a way for me to be mellow and have a time frame of something to look forward to and not get distracted by. I tried every mead I could. I got a fake ID, I bought them, I tasted them, and I disliked a lot of them. And I found that as I was brewing it, I went into the dorms in my first 3 years of college, and I was with my RA, who was living with me then, and I would stash my mead brewing fermenter in the closet while he was in the library doing his med school work. And I sold a lot of mead in college to my friends who obviously didn't have fake IDs and just wanted to drink in their dorms. The thing about brewing mead is that unlike beer or unlike distilling, which I definitely don't recommend doing on the home scale, it smells good when it ferments. After I graduated college, I had this gap in my schedule, number one, because I had no longer had classes, and I was unsure whether or not I wanted to return back to acting. I knew that I wanted to pick up a hobby, and I was eager to learn still. And so my father called me and he said, well, if you want to do something with your time, you should lean into one of your passions. You love brewing, so you should take up an internship or a job at a brewery. So I looked around, and there was a distillery in the Brooklyn Navy Yard called Kings County who accepted me. And I eagerly rode my bike down there, smelled all the smells, saw all the sights, and I worked there for a short amount of time learning the business of brewing in general. I learned how important foot traffic was. I fell in love with the machinery. I fell in love with the big copper stills. I fell in love with the environment, the small brick building, and the smell of the corn and the grains being sparged. It was amazing. After I had talked at length with most of them there, I decided to embark on my mission, and now we're here. A lot of people doubted me, particularly in the home brewing game and the mead community. People were not sold on the dry mead thing. A lot of people tried to talk me down from doing it. A lot of people attacked my flavors, which have now won gold medals. In general, it hurt because I expected having a kind of open arms community, and I kind of didn't. The community's a lot better now, I think, than it was when I was kind of on the up and up. And I also just think generally not a lot of people took me seriously. A lot of people thought this was, not to be crass, but thought it was like a celebrity endorsement deal of a shitty tequila brand. I think it's a double-edged sword. I think that it's hurt as much as it's helped. I think that on the distribution level and on a lot of people who are outside of the product or don't see the process or don't understand what we're doing, I think that they see this as an endorsement, and they see it as an endorsement of a product that doesn't already have a developed market as much, and so they're kind of hesitant. And I have to explain a lot that I'm actually brewing it. Right? I have to explain a lot that these are my recipes. I have to explain a lot to people that this is my business and I'm here every day I can be. That comes as a surprise to a lot of people. But on the other hand, the people who do know that, we make a splash with. Also, this is just kind of the ugly truth of modernity, but social media has a lot to do with the outreach of your business, and that has only stood to benefit me, right? In this case, especially with the meadery. And I authentically love to do so, right? I want to educate people about this product, which not a lot of people know about, and I'm passionate about doing it, and I have a great platform to do so. So that's been great, but it's a double-edged sword. I met my partners, one of which was, I met at NYU, Matt Kwan is our CFO, and he just is the most solid Alabama dude ever. Whether it's he needs to just put his head down and work, unasked, he just does it, or he's just ahead of the game 10 steps. And he had a set of skills that I just knew I did not contain within me. I have tried, but I am terrible at it. Matt is an excellent, excellent business manager, and I stay more so on the side of the creative outlets. We just meshed, and he tried almost every one of my college meads, and he tried the bad ones, and he tried the good ones, and we got drunk on both. And so we were fast friends. We also played video games together, so that helped. He was working in finance, and he hated it. He was a suit. He was a suit in a cubicle, and I could see that he hated it. And he was doing everything on the outskirts of that to find some passion for himself. And I think when the meadery opportunity came knocking, he jumped on board full steam, and he is so passionate and so awesome. So I really could not be doing this without him day to day. This area particularly, like even if you look out the windows, is kind of up and coming. It is developing and it's growing, and this was an investment for a little bit of long term. Even though Williamsburg doesn't seem like long term, it seems kind of like it's arrived already. But there's a lot of foot traffic, and I chose Brooklyn and Williamsburg, Greenpoint area because we're very close to the water treatment plant. So I chose New York over California because of the water quality and foot traffic. The nightlife scene and the brewing scene in California is great, it's just not the same. And when you have to drive 35 minutes to get anywhere, it kind of depletes the allure of stumbling across a meadery or a brewery in the middle of Brooklyn and just walking in. So that's why I chose it. And the first thing first is we needed to get our fermenters fabricated. And we needed to hit a number of eventual employees in our space because we got a grant by New York State. So we knew some certain things. We got our farm winery license, which the farm winery essentially means that we have to use all New York local honey and all New York local ingredients, which was totally right on because it allowed us to self-distribute. We jumped off of that, got the paperwork in place, fabricated our fermenters, and then built the walls around our fermenters because these are too big to get through the doors of the William Vale, I guess. So I don't know what we're going to do one day if we ever decide to expand into another location, but eventually we will, and we'll figure that out when we get there. Never, ever, ever skimp out on your ingredients, right? And we find the same thing here. Your lab can look a certain way, which this is for us, but our biggest expense goes into making the best product that we can make because that's what counts. So I was actually home brewing with the same honey that I brew with here. Alan Tremblay and his family, they were selling in the Union Square Farmers Market, and when I first moved out to New York, I started buying from them, and I told them, "One day, Alan, you'll see. I'll own a big meadery and I'll buy a lot of honey from you." And he's like, "Sure, kid." And then I did. So that was nice. And they're very excited. Now we're pretty much exclusive business partners for the most part. We buy a lot of honey from them. I like using honey that is by apiaries who don't cart their bees, which means that a lot of the times apiaries will put hundreds and hundreds of hives on the back of flatbed trucks. They'll smoke them out to put them to sleep. They'll bring them to orchards and they'll pollinate everything in the orchards, and the bees will be very stressed. They'll take all the honey from that and they'll have major colony collapse, which is the reason that a lot of bees have been dying. And so I only like to support bees on local plots that don't get carted. And Alan has plots like that. At the end of the day, we could have spruced this manufacturing up. We could have bought a huge plot, but we would have had to spend less money on our ingredients, and it would have just taken the quality down of our mead, which is not what you want to do, especially if you're starting up. The best way to build a community is actually just make good stuff.